The story begins with the scene of war, where U.S. Army fighters were flying over the Pacific Ocean. Louis and his fellow soldiers were on a mission to destroy the Japanese island of Nauru. They soon bombed the target, but suddenly, many Japanese planes surrounded them, attacking from all sides. This caused damage to their plane, with several parts breaking and brakes failing. Despite the difficulties, pilot Phil managed to somehow get the plane out of there and safely back to base, finally landing with great difficulty due to the brakes not working. Then we see that many years ago, Louis used to be quite mischievous in his childhood. He smoked cigarettes, drank alcohol, and started stealing. One day, while hiding and drinking, he was watching his older brother's baseball match when suddenly a guard spotted him. However, he managed to escape at an incredible speed. When his brother saw him running so fast, he realized that if Louis participated in running, he could easily win. So, his brother started training him, and within a few years, Louis became so fast that he could easily win any race. Because of this, he became famous as a storm. Once, he broke the record of all the schools in the country by completing a 1-kilometer race in just 4 minutes. Because of this, Louis got the opportunity to go to the 1936 Berlin Olympics representing America. Before going, he hugged his brother and thanked him. His brother explained to him that a moment of pain could bring him a lifetime of glory. After that, the day of the race came where Louis was participating in a 5,000-meter race. His entire family was listening to the race news on the radio, but soon many strong athletes left Louis behind. However, Louis gathered all his strength and ran with full force, surpassing many athletes. But eventually, he finished the race in 8th place. Now, he had decided to win the gold medal in the next Olympics, which were to be held in Tokyo in 1940. But soon, with the outbreak of the Second World War, his dream shattered. At the present time, after landing the plane, Phil thanked God, but Louis said he didn't believe in God. Anyway, from the next day onwards, Louis started training for running again, and everyone was amazed at his speed. Then one day, Louis and his team were given a mission to find a missing plane and rescue its people. Once again, they were given a broken plane, but they managed to repair it somehow and set off. But suddenly, one of their engines failed in midair. Before they could do anything, the second engine also failed, and their plane crashed straight into the sea. In this accident, 8 soldiers died, and only Louis, Phil and Mac survived. Mac had completely lost hope, but Louis and Phil still had courage. They had only a few things to eat and a bottle of water to drink. Louis said they would eat a piece of chocolate in the morning and at night, and drink only 2 sips of water during the day. Then, they had to endure the harsh cold at night. The next morning, they woke up to the sound of a plane. Louis tried to get the plane's attention by firing his gun, but to no avail. Later, Louis saw that all the chocolate boxes were empty because Mac had eaten all the chocolate. Louis was very angry but somehow restrained himself. Now they had to spend days without food and water in this sea. Suddenly, a bird landed on their boat, and the hungry soldiers pounced on it immediately. They calmed their hunger by eating the bird, but soon all 3 of them felt nauseous. After this, they decided to put the bird's flesh in the water to catch fish. Soon, they caught a fish and ate it together, but their condition was deteriorating gradually. Suddenly, one night, a fierce storm hit the sea, and they felt it was their last night. That's when Louis prayed to God, saying that if he existed, to save him today, and if he survived today, he would spend his entire life serving others. Then a miracle happened, and they managed to survive the storm. The next morning, it rained, and they happily drank water from their filled bottle. After a few days, they successfully caught a shark, whose flesh they survived on for several days. Gradually, they spent 27 days in the sea, and then they saw another plane in the sky. Again, they tried to get the plane's attention by firing their gun, and the plane turned towards them. However, their joy didn't last long because it was a Japanese plane, not an American one. The soldiers on the plane started shooting at them, so all 3 of them jumped into the water. Somehow, they managed to save their lives. Later, the plane flew away, and they were back in the water again. But now, their raft was losing air. They immediately patched the hole and went back up. As time passed, they huddled in the small raft. They have been stranded in the sea for 40 days now. Mac's condition was deteriorating, and soon he died due to hunger. Louis and Phil sadly covered his body and buried him at sea. After that, they tried to pass the days somehow, but now their condition was so bad that they couldn't even speak. On the 47th day, unfortunately, a Japanese ship came near them, and the soldiers took them as prisoners. Now, Louis and Phil were imprisoned in dark rooms like slaves. They were given a little rice to eat, but they devoured it like hungry dogs. Then one day, a Japanese colonel called them and interrogated them about American bombs. After gathering information from them, Louis and Phil were sent to the jail in Tokyo. From there, they were taken to separate camps. Louis was in the Omori detention center, where a heartless officer named Watanabe was in charge. When Watanabe was explaining the jail rules to everyone, Louis looked into his eyes, and for this crime, Watanabe brutally beat him. Then he was sentenced to stand all day in the camp. In the camp, Louis met other American soldiers. The next day, Watanabe gathered all the prisoners and singled out those who had some skill. He noticed that Louis was good at running, so he made Louis run with a Japanese officer. However, due to hunger, Louis had no strength left in his body, so he collapsed on the ground. Despite this, Watanabe mercilessly beat him, showing an intense hatred towards Louis. Here, American prisoners somehow managed to steal newspapers and keep all the information about the war. But one day, the Japanese soldiers caught the newspaper thief and beat him like a dog. The other prisoners and Louis could do nothing but watch. After a few days, Louis got a chance to send a message to his home to let his family know that he was alive. According to the U.S. government, he was declared dead in the crash. Finally, he was taken to a radio station to record his message. However, pressure was put on him to lie and say that there was no torture happening there, so that the Japanese could maintain a facade of treating American prisoners well. Afterwards, Louis was given good food for some time, but then the Japanese officers asked him to give a speech against America in exchange for a chance to live a good life in Japan. Despite the temptation, Louis refused to betray his country, so he was sent back to the jail camp. When he returned, Watanabe remarked that Louis was as strong as him and might have been good friends if not for Louis's disobedience. As Louis didn't comply with the officers, Watanabe ordered all the prisoners to punch Louis in the face, a punishment that lasted the whole day and left Louis's face badly wounded in the end. Then one day, the officers ordered the prisoners to perform a Cinderella play for their entertainment. During this time, Watanabe told Louis that he had been promoted to sergeant and would be transferred to the Omori detention center the next day. He asked Louis to congratulate him, but Louis remained calm. After Watanabe left, the prisoners' lives improved significantly, but this didn't last long. Suddenly, one day, bombings hit the nearby city, and all the prisoners were sent to the Naoetsu camp. Upon arrival, Louis saw that the officer there was none other than Watanabe. Seeing Watanabe again brought back unpleasant memories. Watanabe gave another speech and unjustifiably beat Louis again. All the prisoners were punished by being made to carry heavy bags of coal onto the plane. Due to the weight of the bags and their hunger and thirst, many prisoners fainted and fell from the bridge into the water and drowned. One day, Louis, exhausted from fatigue, lay down on the ground. So, when the soldiers brought him to Watanabe, Watanabe punished him by making him carry a heavy load of wood on his shoulders, and if he dropped the wood, he would be shot. Poor Louis, even in his condition, stood there trying to lift the heavy wood. All the prisoners were amazed to see his determination, and slowly they started chanting Louis's victory slogans. Hearing this, Louis's spirits rose even more, and he looked Watanabe in the eye, lifting the wood high. Seeing this, Watanabe trembled with anger and beat Louis severely. The next morning, a Japanese officer announced that the war was over and instructed all the prisoners to bathe in a nearby river and return. At first, the prisoners thought they would be killed, but suddenly an American plane flew overhead, and they realized that the war was finally over. All the prisoners were overjoyed and began to celebrate by dancing and singing. Meanwhile, Louis went to meet Watanabe, but by then Watanabe had fled with the other Japanese soldiers. Louis sat down on the ground and started reminiscing about Watanabe's childhood. Eventually, Louis and the other prisoners returned to their country, where their families eagerly awaited them. This is a true story where, later, Louis got married, had 2 children, and his brother Phil also returned alive from the war. On the other hand, Watanabe changed his appearance and went into hiding because he knew he would be punished for the atrocities committed during the war. Meanwhile, Louis dedicated his entire life to serving others, fulfilling his promise to God, and forgiving the Japanese, even meeting many Japanese people. However, Watanabe refused to meet him. Finally, at the age of 80, Louis participated in the Olympics again, fulfilling his dream. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more real recaps.